What's going on, you guys? It's Scott from Fly Rides. I am out today overlooking the beautiful valley of Studio City, and we are going to be checking out the Riese Müller Nevo. Riese Müller has given you some very cool updates on this bike this year, not least of which is the GX option, and that is the option that we are going to be focusing on, because I haven't really seen a whole lot of reviews on it. If you ever thought the Nevo wasn't for you because it just wasn't aggressive enough, it couldn't go off-road, you thought it was just like a tooling around town, turn your nose up, sit upright kind of bike, well, guess again. I'm expecting this bike to be pretty catch-all. You do have an integrated rack that carries up to about 60 pounds of gear. You can also get a front-loading rack if you want it on here for carrying laptops and stuff like that. But again, you can take it off-road if you have the GX model. So it really is going to be very versatile. And I want to see just where that versatility leads me to. See what kind of stuff I can do. Like this video, you guys, and subscribe to this channel so you can keep up to date on all the Riese Müller stuff. Let's break into how this bike works, the specs, and all the other good stuff that you want to know. And I'm going to tell you. Let's break into the review. Okay, welcome back to the shop, you guys. Of course, you probably know Riese Müller bikes if you're watching this video. They are handmade in Germany. They partner with Bosch, Magura, Shimano to make bikes that are handmade and that perform unbelievably well. Breaking into the Nevo, there's a lot to talk about because there's a lot of variants. So let's talk about specs, baby.
Let's talk about specs, baby.
So of course, as I mentioned, I rode the GX model, which means it's coming with Rock Razor tires that are going to be just as good for trails as they are for roads. You're also getting an upgrade to the Ergon GP3 grips, which have a little bit of a bar end on there for you so you can grab on and have some new hand positionings. It's also going to give you wider pedals that grip a little bit better, especially on dirt roads if you got some dusty or muddy feet. Overall, it's just a more capable bike if you're looking for heavier trail usage. Every Nevo is going to have that ultra low step wave frame, meaning there's no bar in between, very easy to get on and off. You're also getting a rear rack on every single model, and you're also looking at a Bosch Performance Speed motor or a Performance CX motor. This will be the Gen 2. On that Bosch motor, you do have the capability to go up to 1,000 watt-hours with one power pack and one power tube. So if you want to have that extra battery life that normally goes along with the Super Series, you're going to be able to do that on the Nevo this year. It's just going to have one power pack on there. You've got a bunch of different options in terms of what you want for the display. You've got the kiosks, the Intuvia, or the brand new updated smartphone hub. Just like the rest of Riese Müller's fleet, you are going to have options between a Shimano Dior derailleur and drivetrain, a Vario hub, which this year comes with a Gates carbon belt drive on all models, and the roll-off E14. Also coming with the Gates carbon belt drive for those that want a little bit cleaner of a ride and don't like messing around with chains. I'm a massive fan of the Vario hub. I think if you're going between the two hubs, the Vario is the way to go for me. In my experience, I haven't had to do any maintenance on it except for occasionally tightening the cable that actuates the hub. So I really dig it. It's probably my favorite one. I like a traditional derailleur as well, but definitely in terms of geared hubs, the Vario is my favorite. And on the speed motor, which I rode as well, you really don't notice a drop off in terms of torque on that Bosch Performance Speed motor. You're also getting a Cane Creek Thud Buster seat post to add a little extra comfort for you as well, which is nice if you are getting the GX option so that when you're on the trails, you're not having a sore butt. You don't want that. Also on every bike this year is going to be integrated front and rear lights. Also, it's going to have a brake light as well so people can know when you're slowing down to brake. There is the opportunity this year for you to have a front rack. It doesn't carry a ton of weight, but it is nice to have on the bike in case you want a little extra breathing room. You are also getting hydraulic disc brakes front and rear. Very nice stopping power, which you definitely want whether you have the 20 mile per hour option or the 28 mile per hour option. The bike is also equipped with fenders, a cafe lock, basically everything you need ready to ride on this bike is already on it. Riese Müller always does a great job with this, so it's really no surprise, but it's a very ready to ride bike. There are a few upgrades that I would even think about doing, and honestly, especially if you're getting the GX model, you've already got the upgraded grips, you've already got the upgraded pedals, maybe like a saddle if you want to go with a Brooks saddle or something like that, but it's pretty set up and ready to ride. Overall, it is a very comfortable upright build that's going to be great for commuters and again, now trail riders as well. So let's talk about the ride a little bit. That's what I do after all. I actually ride the bikes and give you guys a look at what it's like to be on a Riese Müller steed. I loved it. It's really great. I've always been a fan of the Nevo, so I am not surprised at all. One of the things that the Nevo doesn't do that a lot of bikes of this style with that wave frame have a tendency to not be great with is there's usually a little bit of like squirreliness in the handling. So you're so upright and you're so far back that sometimes you don't really have enough weight over the front wheel so that you really have enough pressure on there, and it just ends up feeling like when you turn it's a little bit like loosey-goosey, which I don't like to feel like. I want to feel dialed in on the bike, and you do on this bike. So you're over the handlebars enough, I would say, that it feels like a normal riding position, but having the ability to get easy on and easy off is so nice. I just turned 30 myself, so I'm getting a little bit older, so I know what it's like not to want to have to throw that leg over the rear rack and all that, especially if you got groceries and everything. So it's really nice that you can just throw the leg through there, but it feels a lot like a regular bike. You're not really getting the flex in the frame or the stability issues that you sometimes get on wave frame bikes. I was pretty blown away, to be honest, in terms of trail performance. I really was not expecting much. This is a city commuting bike, in my opinion. Traditionally, it's not something that you would think like, let me throw some mountain bike tires on here and take it on trails, but it does really well. It's nice because I've got on my commute some trails, and I could kind of just hit them on the way if I wanted to add like 5 or 10 minutes. But it performed really well on some pretty significant downhills and then into corners and stuff as well. I never felt any slippage. The Rock Razor tires were plenty for the kind of riding that I was doing, and I could definitely see myself using it for bike packing, a little bit like fire road riding, maybe just for a day. It was very impressive on the trail performance. So if you're interested in riding one of these on trails, it's definitely possible, and I would even say it excels in terms of this type of riding. Generally with Riese Müller bikes, people will have questions about the weight of them. They do run a little bit heavier, I would say, than the average bike, but I actually think that helps in terms of the performance of the bike. It kind of helps you stick to the pavement, helps you stick to the dirt, and it's just kind of better for downhill speeds. I've definitely found myself going faster than I expected to with the tires as wide as they were. And it just kind of provides a little extra stability. As long as you're able to put it on a bike rack, I would say it's not too heavy. I didn't really have issues with the weight. In terms of the GX versus the GT models, I would say I would only go for the GX if you really are going to be using it on trails at least like 50 to 60% of the time. Because realistically, with the GT tires, the Moto X tires that come on those, you are going to be able to take those on some gravel roads and, like rails to trails. It's not going to be like an issue getting on those type of trails. These GX tires are definitely like for, I would say, even some loose dirt in some situations. I'm not saying don't get it. I love that setup, and personally, I would probably buy that setup. But if you're mostly commuting, like 80% going to be on paved roads, it's probably not worth the extra money to upgrade to the GX stuff, because you can just, you can switch stuff out long term anyway. So I would say realistically for most Nevo riders, you're probably sticking to the GT models. But the GX, again, it's a great option, and it does perform really well on the trails. So who is this bike for? As I mentioned, it is going to be a city commuter, urban kind of weekend rider, I would say. So definitely a higher end bike. There's no doubt about that. That's just the case with Riese Müller bikes. They make a premium product. But I was very surprised that it did the trail usage as well. So if you're a person who's kind of like, we get a lot of customers who are like, I want to get out on the trails, but I don't really want a mountain bike. This is probably pretty close to a perfect option. You don't have that bar in the way, so again, it's good for potentially older riders, or if you have mobility issues, anything like that. It's great for that situation, but you are not limited anymore by the fact that you don't have like mountain bike tires on the bike. So in summary, this bike does have all the versatility of any other Riese Müller bike, but it's more accessible for riders with mobility issues and smaller riders as well. So I think it's a great option as kind of an auxiliary bike, a bike for someone you love, stuff like that. Like this video, you guys, and subscribe to this channel so you can stay up to date on the latest in the e-bike world in the United States. E-bike world in the United States. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for watching, you guys. We will see you guys next time. Until then, enjoy the ride.